Many thanks for joining us. You're watching QTV News, coming to you live from our studios on Caraba Avenue, and I am Ansmane Isonyase. Here are the main news headlines. In a landmark judgment, the High Court of the Gambia has ruled that the IGP should pay $500,000 to Alhaji Sisao, known as Alhaji Bora, for unlawfully detaining him beyond the 72-hour constitutional limit. The Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy on Wednesday commenced a 3-day ICT Cadre Staff Retreat to foster knowledge sharing among ICT departments of government ministries. At the stakeholder forum on Thursday, the National Security Advisor, Abubakar Suleiman Jeng, has called on the public and stakeholders in the security sector to take ownership of the ongoing security sector reform program. Espas Motors Gambia, in collaboration with QCell, conducted extensive defensive driving training for the QCell team of drivers to reduce the risk of accidents and promote responsible driving practices. And in international news, Rwanda has become the latest African country to allow African visitors to travel visa-free to their country. Stay tuned for more on these and other stories. And we now take a look at the news in detail. Now, in a landmark judgment, the High Court of the Gambia has ruled that the police acted unlawfully in detaining Alhaji Sisao, known as Alhaji Bora, beyond the 72-hour constitutional limit. The court has also ordered the IGP to pay $500,000 compensation to the applicant for violating his constitutional rights. QTV's Mohd Lamin Choi has the latest in this report.
The High Court of the Gambia has found the police guilty of breaking the law and violating the rights of a civilian. On the 16th October this year, Alhaji Sisao, popularly known as Alhaji Bora, the applicant in this case, brought a case against the Inspector General of Police and the Attorney General, which, among other things, asked the court to declare that his rights had been violated when the police detained him beyond the 72-hour constitutional limit. Mr. Sisao is seeking an order for the state to pay him $7 million in compensation for the violation of his rights. The presiding judge is Justice Ibrahima Jaite. By law, the High Court is mandated to interpret and enforce the fundamental rights and freedoms provided for in our Constitution. This case is one such exercise of that mandate. The lawfulness in Alhaji Sisao's detention by the police for more than 72 hours without being charged or brought to court is the subject to be determined. In that, Justice Jaite quotes the 1997 Constitution, which protects the rights and liberty of people. The relevant section gives power to the police to arrest and detain people upon reasonable suspicion that a crime is being or has been committed by an individual. However, the law limits that power to 72 hours detention, after which a suspect is either charged and brought before a court without undue delay or released on reasonable conditions. In his ruling, the judge stresses that in the Constitution, there is no room for arbitrary arrest or detention of any person, and that the police had no justifiable reason to arrest and detain the applicant beyond 72 hours. The judge goes on to acknowledge that the state had not denied that the applicant was detained beyond 72 hours and never charged or arraigned before a court of law. The police had arrested Alhaji Sisao in relation to remarks he made on a local media platform, following which the police accused him of threatening the peace and security of the country by encouraging military takeovers in Africa. The judge references the failure of the state to present a police report to the court on their investigation on the content of the remarks by the applicant, which allegedly threatened the peace in the country. In determining the issue of compensation for violation of the applicant's rights, Justice Jaite argues that it is an indisputable fact in law that violation of a person's fundamental right to liberty attracts compensation in court, even when not requested. Having established the issues sought for determination, Justice Jaite declares Alhaji Sisao's arrest and detention without being charged and brought before a court of law unlawful and unconstitutional, and amounts to a breach of his fundamental human rights as guaranteed in the Constitution. The court restrains the Inspector General of Police from arresting and detaining the applicant for no just cause and orders the IGP to immediately hand over to the applicant his phone. In determining compensation, Justice Jete references the Gambia's economic conditions and the need to send clear message to law enforcement agencies. And on the circumstances of this case, Justice Jete orders the IGP to pay $500,000 to the applicant in compensation for breaching his constitutional right to liberty. Laji Sisao and Lamines Kamara, the applicant and his lawyer respectively, speak to the press after the judgment.
So I will say not only Bora, if you are a Gambian and you feel your rights have been violated and you are intimidated, what Bora did, you should do the same thing. There is nobody above the law. The law is here for everybody. You know, equality before the law. The law that deal with me during my intention, I follow the same channel to sue these people to court.
I think this is a lesson for every law enforcement officer in this country to start complying with the provisions of the law and not trying, in the words of the court, taking the law into your own hands and subjecting the detention and arrest of suspects to the whims and caprices of individuals in whose custody they are. This is a very good landmark judgment, and we thank the court for that.
The judgment reinforces the fact that the law is supreme and that all of us are equal before it, and that we must be guided by its dictates no matter the condition or circumstances. Also, this reaffirms the doctrine that justice is blind. Mohamed Lamin Choi, QTV News.
Now, the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy on Wednesday commenced a 3-day ICT cadre staff retreat to foster knowledge sharing among the ICT departments of government ministries. Mahmoud Gajaga attended the event in Kanilai in Fonyi in the West Coast region, and this is his report.
Information Communication Technology departments are gathered to discuss their challenges, solutions and strategies for harmonizing work to transform the country's digital sector. The Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy are working on numerous policies, including government email platform, cloud policy and national fiber protection. Usman Ba, the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, explains.
Why we are here, we want to look at our ecosystem and share with the ICT cadre what the ministry vision is and why it's important we bring everybody on board to transform this country within a very short time. We've been doing a lot from the ministry standpoint. We want to look at 3 things. Each ICT staff, their skills, their expertise, and what skills gap, if there is any, that we can help to upgrade that individual, because we want the best of the best.
The Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy suggested an additional second submarine cable to boost connectivity, accessibility, and reduce internet cost. That will involve having a Tier 4 data center, which will be localized to data storage in the country rather than abroad. Lamin Kamara, Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, says it is important for government to digitize its services.
Digitalization is the way forward, and I think this has been mentioned. We live in a virtual and a physical world, and some of the things we do in the physical world are replicated in the virtual world. So this has led us to re-engineer our business processes, and I think the e-government is one of those things we'll be really working on to enhance government service delivery.
A presentation by Lang Lum, Director of E-Government at the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, shows a government email platform in operation. He stressed the need for a digital identification system for security reasons, a data center, and additional submarine cable to deliver on these ambitious plans. Musa Suso, a participant, says it is important to integrate government digital systems.
If Minister of Digital Economy is trying to bring all systems together, I think that is very important, so that at least we can have sustainability in those systems. Because none of these ICT officers will be in those ministries forever. But if we have a central government that is taking care of those ICT needs, I think that is very important. And we have the integration so that at least all systems can be speaking, and so that we can also avoid some duplicates of those systems in other ministries.
Despite the ambitions of the ministry to transform the country's digital sector, there were admissions about infrastructure constraints, funding, and capacity challenges. In an increasing digital world, these policies are long overdue. The country's digital transformation will boost the economy, cybersecurity, and improve access for everyone. Mamadou Gajaga, QTV News.
Now, the National Security Advisor, Abubakar Suleiman Jeng, has called on the public and the stakeholders in the security sector to take ownership of the ongoing security sector reform program. He was speaking at a stakeholder forum on Thursday. More in this report. The SSR process was launched following the change of government in 2017 to strengthen security institutions by instituting programs that would transform law enforcement in the country according to democratic norms and values. However, despite some challenges, the National Security Advisor, Abubakar Suleiman Jeng, believes a lot has been achieved since the commencement of the reform program. At Thursday's stakeholder forum, Jeng, a strong SSR advocate, reiterated his call for stakeholders in the sector to take ownership of the process. While acknowledging international partners' role in the implementation of the SSR program, he implores members of the public and state institutions, especially those in the security sector, to support the process by showing leadership to ensure its success.
Then whatever that the external partners will bring will be added value, but not totally dependent on. There is donor fatigue, there is apathy, there is competing priorities. So you must be seen to be in the forefront of leading your own process. And this can only be demonstrated if also funds are earmarked for this.
Jeng further stresses government's commitment to transforming the country's security institutions into strong, viable ones that will contribute significantly to strengthening security, ensuring the safety of lives and properties of all residents of the Gambia, and strengthening democracy in the country. He went on to highlight government support to the process, including the allocation of funds, which he says will go a long way towards helping the country realize its objectives.
Government provided seed money now for the SSR. I am happy to also report that we will be getting 6% insurance premium all across the country. This will translate to something around the region of 80 million a year. We've also been given 10% from the International Voice Gateway. This goes around 160 million. But most importantly, government showing its commitment, realizing the importance of security sector reform, has also allocated 0.25% on national levy of import.
Speaking earlier, the Inspector General of Police, Abdoulaye Sanyang, and political science lecturer at the UTG and politician Dr. Ismaila Cisse expressed support for the process and commended government through the Office of the National Security Advisor for showing leadership and commitment to the successful implementation of the program, and also echoed calls for local ownership of the SSR process.
As the head of the Gambia Police Force today, I acknowledge these shortcomings and strongly desire a holistic change for better in line with the aspiration of the populace articulated in the Gambia government security sector reforms objectives. Ladies and gentlemen, the gaps and challenges as alluded to are in no small measures very demanding to overcome. Therefore, we need to move clearly, redefine our priorities and re-strategize to make solid and visible gain in the reform in general and Gambia Police Force transformation in particular.
As part of the SSR process, government has launched a series of policy frameworks, including the locally produced National Security Strategy, as well as a series of capacity building programs for members of the security sector, both home and abroad. Answane Sonyasi for QTV News. And a report there will lead us to the commercial break, but we will be right back.
Trade Fair is back at the Independence Stadium. The Gambia Youth Chamber of Commerce, in collaboration with the Gambia Women Chamber of Commerce, presents 5th edition of National Youth and Women in Agro-Business and Tourism Trade Fair 2023. We are going bigger with variety of amazing products from remarkable youth and women entrepreneurs from the Gambia. We will also be hosting vendors from Senegal, Mali, Nigeria, Benin, and Burkina Faso to leverage the AFCFTA's 1.6 billion free market opportunities. Part of side events include innovation competition, youth and women's day celebration, music and cultural performance, among a host of other entertainment activities. Book a stall today and showcase your business from the 1st to 25th of December 2023. 2023. You heard me right. A whole 25 days of sales and networking at the Independence Stadium, Bakau. For further inquiries, call us on 368-5556 or 203-1080. Better still, 52000045.
The future is now with QCell's 5G network. Experience speeds like never before with our new 5G Rocket Fixed Internet plan. Get speeds from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps. Your 5G-enabled device. Walk into QCell headquarters to get one of our 5G routers and experience the true feeling of 5G. Only with QCell. QCell brings you the future. Tech, innovation, incredible speed. The future is now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Well, thanks for staying with us. And if you're just joining us, you're watching QTV News coming to you live from our studios on Caraba Avenue. And I am Ansmane Sonyasi. Now, the Gambia ranks amongst the world's top 10 worst countries for road traffic accidents. Much of this has been blamed on too many poorly trained drivers on our roads. Espas Motors Gambia, in collaboration with QCell, conducted extensive defensive driving training for the QCell team of drivers to reduce the risk of accidents and promote responsible driving practices. Lena Igwenyiba reports.
The ongoing transformation of the Battle Hardin Highway into a dual carriageway with 3 lanes on each side, 2 flyovers, 12 roundabouts, street lights, pathways and drainage systems is a significant development in the country. This expansion will require drivers to adapt to the new road environment, emphasizing the importance of defensive driving techniques. Sam Lewis, Technical Garage Manager at Espas Motors Gambia, emphasizes the significance of this defensive driving training.
Mr. Ja, the CEO, wanted us to do something because of the driving in the country is very, very, very unsafe. And he wanted us to teach the drivers to drive defensively, not teaching anybody how to drive, but to teach them to drive defensively. Everybody knows how to drive, or everybody thinks that they can drive, but you have to remind people all the time what to do, and every time the rules changes.
Mohamed Ja, the Q Group chairman, expressed his enthusiasm for the initiative, acknowledging that drivers are the cornerstone of QCell's operations.
Drivers know the most important, and that's why they meet. That is why anything we have office in terms of dimbal or anything,
you are the most important people in the office. I keep repeating it. That's why I frequently meet with you all. That's why, in terms of assistance, whatever is happening in the office, you are the first recipients because you are the most important. If there is no car operating, no matter how hectic or urgent the work is, it can't be executed.
The training session featured experts from various fields, including a legal expert and an insurance company representative. Buba SFBA, Deputy Commissioner of Mobile Traffic, commended QCell's drivers, noting that they have had a remarkable safety record during his tenure. Alhaji Njanko, Chief Driver at QCell, and Yamar Jaju, a driver at QCell, expressed their appreciation for the training.
Everyone sees QCell as an example, especially what was said by the police about QCell. Not having issues with them brought me immense joy. The training is of great benefit to all of us. We have learned a lot and are thankful. We just request more training like this.
QCell's commitment to defensive driving not only ensures the safety of its employees, but also aligns with the broader goal of reducing road accidents and encouraging responsible driving within the community. It is hoped other corporate entities will emulate this initiative. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena Igwenyiba.
And a report there by Lena Igwenyiba will lead us to international news in a moment. Now, Rwanda has become the latest African country to allow African visitors to travel visa-free to their country. The initiative is aimed at boosting free movement of people, goods, and services. Julenjai reports.
President Paul Kagame made the announcement in the Rwandan capital, Kigali, where he pitched the potential of Africa as a unified tourism destination for a continent that still relies on 60% of its tourists from outside Africa, according to data from the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. During the 23rd Global Summit of the World Travel and Tourism Council, President Kagame said any African can get on a plane to Rwanda whenever they wish and they will not pay a thing to enter their country. He said, and I quote, "We should not lose sight of our own continental market. Africans are the future of global tourism as our middle class continues to grow at a fast pace in the decades to come." End of quote. Once implemented, Rwanda will become the 5th African country to remove travel restrictions for Africans. Other countries that have waived visas to African nationals are Gambia, Benin and Seychelles, and Kenya. Kenya's President William Ruto announced recently that his country plans to allow all Africans to travel to the East African nation visa-free by December 31st. In 2016, the African Union launched an African passport with much fanfare, saying it will rival the European Union model in unleashing the potential of the continent. However, only diplomats and AU officials have been issued the travel document so far. The African passport and free movement of people is aimed at removing restrictions on Africans' ability to travel, work and live within their own continent, the AU says on its website. The AU also launches the African Continental Free Trade Area, a continent-wide free trade area estimated to be worth $3.4 trillion, which aims to create a single unified market for the continent's 1.3 billion people and to boost economic development. African Union's vision and roadmap for the next 50 years that was adopted by member states in 2013. African nations were supposed to scrap visa requirements for all African citizens since 2018. While there are regional deals and bilateral arrangements, progress towards no restrictions has been slow. South Africa appears to be the most visible representative of the continent's visa double standard, remaining lightly close to other Africans, but more welcoming to the wider world. Citizens of only 15 African nations can travel to South Africa without a visa, yet holders of 28 different European passports can enter the country freely. Furthermore, political parties and movements attacking and killing African migrants are gaining popularity in South Africa. Hit by a recession and a drop in tourist numbers, South Africa caved in and recently announced that it was relaxing travel rules in the hope of reviving its struggling economy. However, as in the past, the majority of tourists visiting South Africa are likely to be non-Africans. It remains to be seen which other African countries will follow in the wake of the 5 that have and lift visa restrictions. For QTV News, I am Julde Njai.
And I'm afraid that's all about it for this bulletin. But before we take a leave of you, here's a recap of our main headlines. In a landmark judgment, the High Court of the Gambia has ruled that the IGP should pay $500,000 to Alaji Sisao, known as Alaji Bora, for unlawfully detaining him beyond the 72-hour constitutional limit. The Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy on Wednesday commenced a 3-day ICT cadre staff retreat to foster knowledge sharing among the ICT departments of government ministries. At a stakeholder forum on Thursday, the National Security Advisor, Abubakar Suleiman Jeng, has called on the public and stakeholders in the security sector to take ownership of the ongoing security sector reform program. And Espas Motors Gambia, in collaboration with QCell, conducted extensive defensive driving training for the QCell team of drivers to reduce the risk of accidents and promote responsible driving practices. And in international news, Rwanda has become the latest African country to allow African visitors to travel visa-free to their country. That's it for this bulletin. On behalf of the entire production team, thanks for watching. Do join us tomorrow same time. Thanks.